Hello everyone, and welcome back to the show. Yes, no special fancy opening. I will give you a decent dialogue, if you will, for our opening. In the realm of horror movies, normally the long standard is that the villains keep coming back. The villains are the most popular characters, they carry a franchise in of themselves. Even a group of villains, such as with Hellraiser, Pinhead in particular sticks out amongst all of them, and continues to this day to be a relatively popular figure for his franchise, and is at least a constant within his franchise as well. There's very few, if any, franchises that actually carry on due to a good guy. Now, Friday the 13th had that a little bit with Tommy Jarvis in the middle there, but that too ran through and he went away after a while. Today, however, we are going to talk about one of the most popular good guys in horror history. His name is Ashley Williams, Ash for short, and I give to you today, as your big final Halloween horror review, the Evil Dead franchise. Come along if you can. Come along if you can. Take a ride to the land inside of your mind. Beyond the seas of thought, beyond the realm of want, across the streams of hopes and dreams where things are really not. Come along if you can. Come along if you dare. Take a ride to the land inside of your mind. But please realize you'll probably be surprised, for it's a land unknown to man where fantasy is back. So if you can, please understand, you might not come back. Starting in 1981 and running until literally present day, the Evil Dead franchise is an ongoing thing that has had lulls of non-activity, but has also been a constant reminder of good parts of the horror industry. I'll go through the numbers first really quick just to give you guys an idea as to what we're dealing with here. Released in October 15th of 1981, The Evil Dead was the original movie in this franchise, made with $375,000. United States wide, it has made over $2 million. The biggest budget of the franchise so far has been $17 million and still garnered a return of $54 million, meaning that the entire franchise has been very lucrative up to this point. Although I will argue that the third in the franchise, Army of Darkness, did not quite garner as much money back. It almost barely made more than what it needed to produce it back, and then gained more through foreign affairs and came out well above where it needed to be, but it was also only the second time it went foreign. Meaning that it made twice as much money as it did for actually filming it, but that was only due to the comeback from the foreign areas. But Evil Dead has had quite a lucrative franchise outside of just the movies. There's been an ongoing franchise of comic books that even tied into Marvel's Zombies, and also through comic books, The Evil Dead has actually tied back into Freddy vs. Jason, and has actually made an unofficial sequel out of that, and possibly, if I'm not mistaken from what I hear, has gone on to even further from that. Along with this has been a unusual video game series. The first one was based on the original movie and was very lackluster. It was only released in PCs in Europe. The first two afterwards were then released in America, but were really lackluster for some reason or another. They didn't throw a whole lot of really good ideas into them, sadly. The Evil Dead Resurrection, however, the third one in the run, was actually a very good return to form, following an actual plot line, and also featuring the voice work of both Bruce Campbell as well as Ted Raimi, Sam Raimi's younger brother, as the main secondary main character in this particular story. As to whether or not it's continuity, I highly doubt it is anymore, because we officially have now a TV series which is now officially continuing the franchise on. There have been very few, if any, references, sadly, to the third movie, Army of Darkness, despite how popular it is. On the other hand, it features a lot of throwbacks to the first and second movies, and even shows some footage from both films within itself, meaning that they are definitely direct sequels to at least the first two films. But at the same time, I would argue, case in point, that the over-the-topness of the franchise still very much relates back to Army of Darkness, and that is in of itself a huge nod of the franchise as to how they handle things throughout, for the most part. So, also, speaking of the films, we should cover those first, and then I will talk more about the TV series as far as I have seen it. The first movie was a solid, but cheesy, low-grade movie. It made its money back very quickly. It was very well done. It was an interesting story that had never been really covered or discussed, or much less even used in horror franchises up to that point. Demon possession wasn't a really big thing except for maybe something like The Exorcist. It was a gore fest that kept me on the edge of my seat the first time I watched it, and still makes people very uneasy. It's very much a body horror in some respects. The second film started to get a little more energetic and slightly over the top. It was still a very solid film, still very enjoyable. It would make one a little bit squeamish, but they also decided to take things a bit further. They not only added even more over-the-top makeup and effects, but they also added special effects such as stop motion for the first time, and they let it actually linger on screen despite some of the cheesy look of it. And to them, kudos for having the balls to do it. They also added a lot of heart and soul to it still, and also continued Sam Raimi's homages to the Three Stooges, which you can't even see in the original when Ash goes into the basement. The only difference is that it was originally water, not blood. And with the third film, we get so over the top that the horrific moments are a little bit further and few and far between. However, we do have an entire freaking army of skeleton warriors ready to do battle over the possession of the Necronomicon, which has been a key point of this entire franchise. That, and add in the medieval knights that help Ash out in his battle against a gigantic army, and his limited resources to try and keep his chainsaw arm running, and also to use his car literally as a weapon. Army of Darkness is a really fun romp. It's a lot less serious, but it's by no means any less grotesque than the horror affairs. It's just very much more in the comedy know-how than just strictly horror. To which we also now have to lead up to the fact that there's been a long gap since Army of Darkness, and for whatever reason it was decided to attempt a remake of it. Sadly, from what I hear, half the movie is a complete other waste of time and just horrendously bad. Essentially, if you have seen the Rob Zombie movies, Rob Zombie's main problem also in Michael Myers movies, the Halloween movies he's done, is that he makes almost everyone literally deplorable for some reason. It's really not understandable why. On the flip side, Evil Dead does the exact same thing, but literally does it for an entire half of a movie and not just a small portion of it. So when the later half comes and the people are starting to be possessed and getting killed one by these demon-possessed humans, you really don't feel bad for the humans, and you're just there to enjoy the gore and watch a bunch of assholes get fucking ripped apart. That's actually kind of a flaw, and that's a major flaw, and that's probably why the remake has not gone anywhere since then. Looking back at my numbers again here, the remake cost $17 million to make, got $54 million back, which was not bad, but when your movie is technically 50-50, it's not a very good sign. And the fact that no one has dared to come back to it also tells me that it's really not worth one's while, to be honest. From what I understand, they also made lots of twists and turns and changes to the format, and so it just kinda is its own little standalone thing. But that is where we come in on this later portion. Thankfully, Sam Raimi has decided that it is time to continue the franchise, acknowledging that there has been about a roughly 30-year gap, and coming back to things as Ash begins to realize that the Evil Dead has awoken again, despite his desire to keep the book hidden, and to try and live out a normal life to try and get things back on the road again. So once more, Ash is forced to come back to the cabin, and despite warning others that have joined him pretty much willingly and of a mindset to also stop this evil, because it has affected both of them in numerous ways, they proceed to the cabin, and I will actually leave it at that. The continuation is fantastic. I love the mood, I love the setting, I love the over-the-top nature at some points, and the horrific aperture that they add to this film in the final acts is just toot sweet and very poignant. It's like a very much a return back to the feeling of the first and second movies. And I will say, however, that they do leave things very open at the end, and it's no short wonder why there is a sequel season now. And I guarantee you, if they leave it as open as it was last time, there's gonna be a season 3. So with that being said, The Evil Dead is a very recommendable series. All of the movies are very good. There's even a couple of worthwhile comic books, one worthwhile video game, if you can get it for Xbox or PlayStation 2. And the new TV series follows very closely in the heels of the movies and is very much worth your time and while. So I hope you all enjoy, and don't forget to watch. I will see you all next time. Good night, and happy Halloween.